Hello, powerful souls. I'd like to share a story about synchronicity with you. My name is Laurie Majka, and I want to help awaken you to the power of your soul. And one of the ways that I do that is by sharing these crazy synchronicities that I get. But before I do that, do you have answers that you really need? Do you have things that are bothering you? Issues with your children, with work, with friends that you really need to find answers to. Maybe even deeper, bigger questions like what your purpose is. What are you doing here? What are you meant to be doing? Well, you have a resource available to you at all times. It is your own innate ability to connect with your intuition. And the way that intuition works is that when you see something that happens, when you hear about something, when you read about something, and it really, really resonates like deep, deep within you, it's something that you just know is true. You don't know why you know it's true, but that is what your intuition is. And when something doesn't feel right, it doesn't resonate, that is your intuition telling you that it's something that you need to discard, that is not meant for you, that you don't want to take in. And it's really, really important that you pay attention to that. Actually, for me personally, that's how I discern whether I want to connect to an idea or a thought process or a person or any type of opportunities that come up, is I really try to listen to my intuition to figure out what seems right. But I also rely very heavily on the guidance that we all have at all times, and that is with your own spirit team and your higher self. You are constantly being guided. You are never alone. You have spirit guides. You have different spirit guides for different situations. So you might have a spirit guide that works with you with your parenting. You might have one that works with you in your relationships with your friends. You might have a completely different spirit guide that's guiding you at your job, your vocation, or even your hobby that you are in love with. And you can call on these guides. You can call on your spirit team. You can call on the angels. And you can ask them to show you an answer to a question that you have. And it's really as simple as asking, and then just being open and receptive to any ideas that come to you in any way that speaks to you. So the way that I get my answers might be completely and utterly different than the way that you get your answers. So for me, I often hear a song or a lyric that will speak to me. I might be reading a book and all of a sudden I turn the page and there's a line that answers a question that I've had. Or maybe I have a conversation with somebody and something comes up. And actually, that's the one I'm going to share with you today. So I have a really close soulmate that I've uncovered on this earth who knows and remembers many different incarnations that we have had together in other lifetimes. And so we were speaking on the phone the other day, and he was telling me about three different lifetimes that he remembers us as. So one was a very ancient people that lived in a tribe together. There wasn't even a name for it. And then he was telling me that we were also native people two different times. Once he said we were Indians. And the second time he said was a really special incarnation where we were Hopi Indians. And when he mentioned the Hopi Indians, it immediately deeply resonated with me because back in 2007, I made my very first trip to the Grand Canyon. And the Grand Canyon is where the Hopi Indians lived in and around. And ever since then, I've been very, very fascinated with the Grand Canyon, so much so that I've taken multiple hiking trips down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, down to Phantom Ranch. I've also hiked from one rim of the Grand Canyon to the other rim of the Grand Canyon. And the biggest amount of time I ever spent was on a rim to rim to rim trip where you go from one side to the other and then back again. It's a 43-mile trek that I did in one day. And to say that I'm in love with the Grand Canyon would be a complete understatement. And then there's another very special sacred place that I've spent a lot of time. It's called Havasupai. And the Havasupai Indians, it means blue-green waters, and they have this very beautiful, lush, spring that runs through their tribal land and culminates in probably 50 or 60 waterfalls, the largest one being almost 200 feet and the rest of them being very small. So the Hopi Indian reservation is a very, very sacred, special place that I've been privileged to visit many times in the last several years. And I also own one piece of Hopi jewelry. So when he said it, it resonated. And then he said to me, ask your guides if it's true. And I explained to him that it doesn't work for me that way. Now, you may hear your guides audibly whisper in your ear. You may get a thought that's implanted that is actually your guides communicating with you, but it doesn't really work that way for me. And I explained the way that it would work was that maybe in the next day or so, I would be watching a show on, say, Netflix, and the show would mention something about the Hopi Indians, and that's how I would get my confirmation. So we hung up the phone, and about 5 minutes later, another friend called me. And this friend is actually creating a beautiful tree piece of art for me. And he was talking about the process and where he was and when we were going to be ready to deliver it. And so we had this conversation, and suddenly he said, oh, hey, do you mind if I call you back in about 5 minutes? I'm sitting outside this store and I really need to run in here. But when I come back and call you, remind me to tell you a story about a Hopi medicine man that I am working with. Now, seriously, this happened 7 minutes after the conversation I'd had with my other friend, where he asked me to ask my guides for a confirmation about the Hopi Indians. What are the chances that somebody would randomly call me minutes later and want to tell me a story about a Hopi medicine man? Like, zero. There is zero chance that that was a coincidence. To me, it resonated immediately, deep, deep within my heart, deep within my soul, deep within my body, as a truth. And that's how confirmations, synchronicities work for me. And they may be very different for you. You might see a billboard that speaks to you. You might hear a conversation on a podcast that you're listening to. You might see a license plate. But however it is, whatever it is, the universe will speak to you in a language that makes sense. And I want to say again that these are not coincidences. You don't have to brush them off and wonder if they're true or not. All you have to do is connect again to your inner self, to your innate intuition, and ask your higher self if what is being said, what is being shown, resonates with you. And that's how you can get your answers from the universe. So I hope that this story is helpful in helping you understand how it works for me. And then maybe you can extrapolate this into your life to understand the signs that you are being given. And the more you do this, the better you will get at it. The more you ask and the more you are open to receive, the more you will see. And then you will be on your path to totally getting all of the answers that hopefully make your life more powerful, more complete, and that you are standing and living in your true path and your true happiness. That's what I hope for you. So, what I'd love for you to do is share your stories of synchronicity, share your stories of signs, so that everybody who reads them can learn through those stories as well. So, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have an amazing day.